your interest in the innovative child therapy symposium. Hi, I'm Jackie Flynn. I'm a child trauma therapist and I'm the host of Play Therapy Community Podcast. I invite you to join us on February 3rd through February 7th of 2020 to discover a range of fresh new ideas to bring right back to your practice. With 40 expert guest speakers presenting on a variety of angles of therapeutic approaches, prepare to be truly inspired. Deepen your clinical skills and just let your creativity flow as we learn together from some of the most impactful, heartfelt, highly skilled professionals supporting child and adolescent mental health. We learned from Lucy Lewin about animal-assisted play therapy and how she uses animals in her practice to strengthen the client's capacity to engage in healthy relationships with self and others. We also learned from Clara Melithan about play therapy and about how it just allows for expression and therapeutic work through the language of kids, which is play. Claire is really good. If you haven't met Claire yet, you are in for a treat. She really knows her stuff. We learned from Sabra Starnes about helping adoptive and foster families with play therapy. She helps us learn about how she helps to strengthen attachment, creates healthy engagement, increases self-esteem, and also build trust in self and others for her clients. She also talks to us about how she integrates bibliotherapy and Santrate therapy. She's really good. She also gave a really good download for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass. It's one of her webinars. And then we learned from Jamie Langley about nature-based play therapy. She provides some techniques of how to work with kids. I love Jamie's work. In this symposium, she talks to us about how she changes the sand in her sand tray to match the seasons. She's really good. She's just a wealth of information. We also learn from Lisa Dion. Lisa Dion is incredible. She's a creator of synergetic play therapy, and she talks to us about how to work with kids that have aggressive behaviors. It is so very good. She talks to us about the therapeutic transformation through interconnectedness in the play therapy process. So good. We learned from Carmen Jimenez Pride about Santrate therapy. I love Santrate therapy, and I love the way that Carmen approaches Santrate therapy in her work. She is a wealth of information as well. We learned from Dr. Jen. Dr. Jen talks to us all about how to help children regulate with trauma-sensitive yoga. She knows anything and everything about this topic. She's so very good. Every time I speak to her, I just get super inspired. She is a wealth of knowledge. And in this symposium, I provide a video where I describe how I went along my journey of becoming an EMDR therapist and beyond. I love EMDR therapy, especially with children and adolescents. We learned from Katie May. Katie May is one of those people that was really just instrumental in my journey. I took a course from her on group therapy. She's also known as the group guru, and she really transformed my group work. She talks to us about DBT therapy with teens individually and in group. She has a group therapy practice, a group therapy private practice in Pennsylvania. She's really good. Also, we learned from Kate Shannon. She is the host of Creative Therapy Umbrella Podcast, and she talks to us all about music therapy. She's a music therapist. I felt so just her energy, inspired by her. She's so bubbly, and she knows her stuff when it comes to music therapy. We learned from Alyssa Kalbeck. Alyssa Kalbeck is a colleague of mine that she does very similar work as I do, and she's really good. She talks to us all about how to integrate play in EMDR therapy. So if that's something that you are interested in, she is an EMDR approved consultant, and she is excellent. We learned from Robert Cox. He's a fellow podcaster that I met a few years ago, and we've been connected ever since. He's not only heartfelt, he is full of knowledge. He talks to us about how to heal early childhood attachment wounds, and he provides some techniques for us that he uses in his practice and has great success. Also, we learned from Dr. Wayland about relationship development intervention, also known as RDI. I had never even heard of RDI before I talked to her, and it is a really good program. It's a family-focused program that's designed to help children and families struggling with social communication challenges and other necessary life skills to maintain and just make healthy relationships. Very practical and very useful. Her work is so good. I'm hungry for more information to learn all about this type of intervention. It seems incredible. We learned from Tammy Van Hollander on how to strengthen a child's self-esteem and increase motivation. Tammy is one of the people that right out of the gate I was inspired by her. I followed her on social media, and she just has some great techniques. She has this amazing personality, and she is so good. I learned all about greatness sticks from her. She's so good, and she's just wonderful to talk to and listen to. Also, we learned from Neil Harris about how to use labyrinths with child and teen clients for emotional equilibrium and integration of the brain and connection. So when I thought of who to include on this symposium, I was thinking I have to invite Neil because I use my labyrinth every single day when I'm at my practice. I love labyrinths. I have a double labyrinth. He talks to us all about what they are, how they work, how they help. And I also talk about how I use them in therapy in that interview. Really good stuff. We learned from Stephanie Bird. Stephanie Bird is a local colleague of mine that we were presenting at the school board recently, and she walked everybody through this technique that she does on the inner strength superpower booster. And she calls it the inner strength superpower booster technique. And it's so good. I actually participated in it, and I felt the effects, just that positivity, that strength after I had done the technique and listening to her speak. So I wanted her to be a part of this, so then you could have that skill as well to use with your clients. Also, we learned from Lynn Louise Wonders. Lynn is the go-to when it comes to working with families of divorce. Oh my goodness, if you have a tough case, reaching out to her, reading her book, taking her trainings are so very helpful. I consulted with her when I had a difficult case, and it feels kind of scary when you have a difficult case. She really walks you through what to do and helps you kind of process through it. So good. We learned from Althea Simpson on how to help children heal from sexual abuse. She talks to us about what trauma looks like in kids and how to really help kids that are struggling with aggressive behaviors and just some deep-seated pain. She has an aggressive play therapy room that she actually took a video tour of and provided for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass that goes with this symposium. And it's incredible. She gives stories about how she's helped her clients. She's incredible. After I did that interview with her, I actually reached out to her for some consultation on a tough case, and it made a world of difference. Althea is so good. Also, we learned from Samantha Willis. Samantha Willis is the go-to when you're working with teens in the LGBTQ community. She talks to us about how a lot of the teens feel pains of rejection, isolation, shame, and fear, and they just want acceptance. She provides us with a lot of resources for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass. There's some resources in there and just information on what can help. So very valuable. We learned from Julie Bowen. Oh, that interview was so much fun to talk to her. She works with teens that have addictive behaviors, and she talks to us about how to recognize addiction in the teens and knowing what the recovery process entails. For the Extraordinary Pass, she talks about how to use a timeline and to really fit that in. Super great technique to use with any client, but especially teens that are struggling with addictive type behaviors. She is so energizing. I can only imagine what it's like to be one of Julie's clients. Also, we learned from Amanda Maddock. Amanda Maddock is someone that's close to my heart. She used to be an independent contractor for me at my private practice, and she since has went off to start her own. But she is my go-to in our local community with anything related to addiction. And she talks to us about helping teens ambivalent about vaping. She talks to us about what to watch out for, and what helps them and what she provided a great video on family roles for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass. Super useful information. We learned from Rebecca Comizio, I hope I'm saying that right, Rebecca, on how to help kids emotionally deal with the active shooter drills at school. I know many of my clients over the years get triggered by those drills, so I just wanted some real deep understanding and some practical information how to help, and she provides that for us. She's a school psychologist, and she also has a podcast. She is a wealth of information as well. We learned from Janet Courtney, and just saying that name, I can feel the warm feeling in my heart. She talks to us about the power of touch in infant and child therapy. This interview is so heartfelt. She is so knowledgeable. She's also the creator of First Play Therapy. So good. That one interview, after I got off the interview with her, I just felt this warmth in my heart. Such a good person and so knowledgeable. She teaches us some really good things, and she provides a really nice book for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass as well. We learned from Amy Baker about what clinicians need to know about parent alienation. I have to say, in this interview, I learned a lot. I don't know much about parent alienation myself, so it really was an education for me. It's an area that I realized that I need to be aware of people in my community to refer to that are trained in that. She gives us the kind of common pitfalls, what it is not. That one is really informative. We also learned from Sarah Magnoni. Oh my goodness, this interview is on important information for clinicians working with children with schizophrenia. She gives us her personal story on what it's like to parent a child with schizophrenia and how they surpass the challenges. And it is beautiful. Sarah is amazing. Also, we learned from Laura Shakis on body-focused repetitive behavior, such as like hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting, cheek and lip biting, nail picking. I think I already said that. No, I said nail biting, scalp eating, and all of those type of body-focused repetitive behaviors. I learned about Laura when I was seeking information for one of my clients' parents that struggled with trichotillomania. Laura is the go-to for anything and everything related to body-focused repetitive behaviors. Also, we learned from Lindsay Bill. Lindsay Bill is the expert on sensory processing challenges. She talks to us all about sensory processing issues, what to watch out for, how to include it in our intake process, weighted blankets, all kinds of ways that we can help our clients that are struggling with sensory processing issues. She's so good. I learned about her through her book. I read one of her books and I was thinking, I have got to meet this lady. So good. We learned about how to help children and teens with anxiety from Tiffany Trudeau. Tiffany Trudeau is one of the local therapists in my community that truly inspires me. She is so good. When you talk to her, you just feel that change inside of you. She's amazing, and she knows her stuff when it comes to anxiety. She gives us some actual techniques to help as well. We learned from Diana Shaw about helping clients that struggle with attention and executive functioning deficits. Diana had her starts in the educational system, and she started out as a teacher, and then she moved into school counseling, and now she is pursuing the world of therapy. Diana is really good, and she gives us some actual things that we can do to help our clients with their executive functioning. We learned from Dr. Dawn about how diet and exercise impacts children with ADHD. I have to say, in this interview, I was planning just to talk to her about diet and exercise, but when I realized how incredibly knowledgeable Dr. Dawn is, I was just racking my brain for any question that I've ever had about ADHD, and she was able to answer it. We learned about IEPs, 504s, rough mornings, school refusal, food, all kinds of stuff is in this interview. Dr. Dawn, she's from Texas. If you haven't heard of her, Google her. She is amazing. We also learn about therapeutic approaches for kids with ADHD from Dr. C. Dr. C is based in Spartanburg, South Carolina. She just invited me up there to do a training for some of her colleagues, and she's really good. She knows her stuff when it comes to ADHD, and she knows what helps children with ADHD in therapy. So lots of great information in there. Now, we learned from Noreen Vanderhoeven on suicide risk assessments with children and teens. I have to say that I felt pretty nervous, like when a child or teen has suicide ideation or anything related to that kind of left me feeling kind of tight in the chest and a little anxious. She clears up any kind of wondering what to do. She clears up all of the gray parts and teaches you exactly what to do. She also has an online course that you can take as well. Noreen knows her stuff when it comes to suicidology. She's so good. We learned from Robin Goebel. Robin Goebel is amazing. She's just a beautiful person inside and out. She helps us to understand about healthy attachment between parent and children, and just understanding that profound benefit of parent and child connectedness. We learned from Janine Halloran about coping skills for kids. She has a book out. I can't believe I didn't know about her book before the symposium. It has really great pages that you can actually copy. You can give to your clients on things that they can do that are helpful. They're grounding. They help them just really be able to cope through difficult situations. So good. So good. I have recommended that book to so many people since I found out about her. We learn about assessments in child therapy from Joanna Pice-Karski. Wow, this interview by itself, this one went a little bit longer, went about an hour. Joanna is a wealth of information when it comes to assessments. She talks to us about formal assessments, informal, play-based assessments, just anything and everything. She has so much knowledge when it comes to assessments. She provides a cheat sheet actually for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass, and it has like the assessments to use in there. So good. She's just wonderful for doing all that. Thank you, Joanna. We talked to Dr. Kat. She is the podcast host of Mom and Mind podcast, and we learn all about maternal mental health and how it impacts children. I know many of my clients, a lot of times they have younger siblings, and when the parent is maybe right postpartum or even during pregnancy, they may experience some maternal mental health issues, and she really helps us to understand knowing when to refer and really how to help, because that ultimately impacts our child client. We learned from Jill Castle. Jill Castle is incredible. If you haven't heard of her yet, I cannot wait for you to learn about her. She's a world-renowned pediatric nutritionalist, and she talks to us about understanding how the relationship and habits with food impact mental health. She has a podcast, and also she has a course on this. She's so good. She really talks to us about very practical things. A lot of times, child trauma can center around food, and meal times and things like that connect family. So she gives us some really good information on how meal times involve so much more than nutritional intake, on how they just help influence the child's mental health. So there's some really good ways to support that. She talks to us about picky eating, disordered eating, feeding scenarios that induce pressure and shame. So good. That interview is amazing. We learned from Dora Henderson. Dora Henderson is a therapist in my local community that we're planning on doing some more work together. She's just a beautiful person, and she used to provide school-based therapy, so she talks to us about what that is, what it looks like, what are the benefits, what are the limitations. I like that interview a lot. Ooh, and we learned from Diane Diaz. She talks to us about helping children cope with grief. Dee is a person that I met through the EMDR community in my local area, and she's so good. She shares with us her personal story of grief and loss in this interview, and it's just so beautiful. And she talks to us about how to help our kid clients through grief and loss. She also provides a great tip sheet for the Therapist Extraordinaire Pass. And then we learn from Dr. Ellis Edmonds. He talks to us about how to create a therapeutic game for children and adolescents. I know many child therapists are super creative and they have all of these ideas how to make all these cool things, but they don't know how to implement them. He actually gives us some good practical knowledge on how to implement these ideas. He made 2 games, the Mindful Bus, a journey to self-exploration, and Drop the Rope, all about acceptance and commitment therapy. So very good. And these videos are available for 36 hours from the day of release. There's 8 videos per day for 5 days. And if you would like to keep them forever and you would like to have that Therapist Extraordinaire Pass with the extra downloads, for $97 you can have forever access to all of it. So thank you so much for your interest in the Innovative Child Therapy Symposium. Again, I'm Jackie Flynn, and enjoy.